Good morning and welcome in. This is 5 Clubs on Golf Channel.
You are a vital part of our game.
Thank you for having me on.
All the way to the green. Woo! Boy, was that fun.
I've always wanted to be on 5 Clubs. Thanks, Gary.
Welcome in on a Tuesday. This is 5 Clubs live on Golf Channel and PGA Tour Radio, Channel 92 on Sirius XM. There's something about hearing Jack Nicklaus say, woo, every morning. That's a good thing. And of course, this program is always presented by Century Insurance. They are right by you. They do business insurance. If you need to evaluate yours, do it with them. Plus, we appreciate so much how they're deeply invested in golf, from the first tee to the USGA to the PGA Tour, and right here at 5 Clubs. In this hour, Ron Green Jr. joins me in studio from the Global Golf Post. Get his thoughts on a number of things. We'll do a little rear view mirror with the West Coast swing, talk about Florida. I'm very curious because his father, one of the greatest steam writers of all time in the golf space, he saw the creation of the Players. I wonder what his first impression was, what it evolved to. So we'll talk to Ron here in studio in less than 15 minutes. And then bottom of the hour, he's a Midwest guy, but he's currently a West Coast guy. But he's right now in Florida. That, of course, the founder of Friday Golf, Andy Johnson, Chicago, now lives in Northern California. But he's a big Boston Common guy. He wears more frog gear than anybody I know. And they took one on the chin last night in the opener of the double dip last night of TGL. So Andy's going to be with us bottom of the hour. And speaking of TGL, there were a couple things about all of these that I'm at least mildly curious to very interested in. This was the most interesting thing that I was interested in, not the apex, which I think was about 22 feet. That, of course, is the stinger hole. Justin Thomas, we saw that at 16 at the Players. Nobody can flight it up and down. Rory's getting to that place. Now, this is such a show-off, hot doggy, just sizzle reel right here. Anybody who can do that, that's show-off stuff. That's why this is a TV show. Choosing to chip over that little mound on the putting green there at TGL, that is a mildly to absurdly tight lie on a synthetic material. He's got the goods, man. And there is Chris Gotterup, who also has got sauce. I said to you when he was winning earlier this year, he's already won twice, he's got Sunday swag, he's got Sunday drip. He likes being in the heat, and I think that the one thing that TGL has done in this second year is, I get why they leaned into the established stars, and of course, Lucas, the grizzled veteran. I will never call him Mr. Chairman, even though he is now the chairman of the Player Advisory Council for the PGA Tour. The fact that TGL has added some of these younger guys, like Michael Torbjornsen and Chris Gotterup and Akshay Bhatia, the fact that they are getting to be colorized in this environment. And of course, Billy Horschel was on the show yesterday. So Atlanta wins the opener against Boston Common. Very hard to win a doubleheader, especially when Tommy is chipping in. So LA wins the nightcap. They beat Atlanta. And let me just say this about Tommy Fleetwood. I know how much everybody loves him. And me too. But if he single-handedly, and I know Adam Scott kind of did, but not really, he didn't lean all the way into it. Did you notice, one, obviously, that those slacks that he was wearing last night were not exactly streamlined? If Tommy single-handedly ushers in another era of pleats, one, I'll be impressed, and two, I'll be angry. Please, let's never go back. Those double pleats, I don't want to do that ever again. But he's rocking pleats. And the other thing that I would say to him, and then I'll get to what I really would like to talk about here, is what he's done early in the year by wearing the logos of all of the facilities and clubs where they played. Now, of course, he's only played a couple weeks on the PGA Tour, but he goes Pebble Beach, and then he's wearing Riviera gear right out of the pro shop. Whoever his apparel provider is, in concert with whatever his schedule is, I think that they should lock up the logos of whatever he chooses to wear with each stop on the PGA Tour. First of all, it's romantic that he's doing that. That's what we do. He looks like he's playing in a member guest each week on the PGA Tour. It's great. It's another reason why he's so endearing to all of us. Speaking of which, Florida. I lived there for 10 years. And look, it was a great chapter of life professionally. There were things about the state that I always found to be wonky. Living in the central part of the state, I never understood why people would want to live there if they had a choice when the water is to the left and to the right of you. But the PGA Tour returns there. And one thing that we have not heard is the idea that Florida is going to be affected by any scheduling changes. I don't expect it to be, because it falls at a time when, one, in terms of this time of the year there is delightful. You may have some cold, windy mornings, but by and large, it's really a nice month in the month of March, whether you're in South Florida. And of course, Jacksonville, again, they could have some weather. It could be chilly, but that's not the point. It looks like it's going to be unaffected. So the one thing I will say about this swing is that there was a nomadic existence to what was not then the Cognizant Classic, when it was the Honda. I would like to, first of all, Ron Green will remember every place they went to, from Mirasol to Eagle Trace to Heron Bay. Oh my. And then they finally went to PGA National starting in 2007. And of course, Bay Hill has been a staple in the Florida swing, and it was Arnold's Place, and the handshake is one of the great, snapshots on the PGA Tour when someone would walk up the hill and get the handshake as the winner. The players, of course, making a home there permanently at the stadium starting in 1982. And then Innisbrook, which was part of the fall, and then it went to, again, same year as PGA National and the Cognizant, 2007. There's uniformity to it. There's a good blend to it. And so it works. But what's interesting to me is about Florida as a whole, because Florida, look, it's a tourist destination. It's got more golf courses than anywhere. But the reality is that Florida has been void of great golf. I honestly think that Florida, post-World War II, not only did it help usher in the dark ages of design, it was the literal black hole of design in golf. Uninteresting, lazy. A lot of it was just a byproduct and just by happenstance, because it was about selling dirt to people who were migrating the state in mass starting in the 60s. And so I get why they did it, and I kind of give a pass to a degree to the people who designed all these utterly forgettable golf courses. But what's happening now is very interesting, and I'll get to that in a second as well. But when I was a kid growing up in northern New Jersey, going to Florida with my dad played baseball at the University of Florida. He loved his home state. He grew up in Tampa. Going to Doral for the first time. And Doral became an event on the PGA Tour in 1962. It was the players in my mind before the players. Casper winning early, and Jack, and Trevino, and Floyd, and a little bit later on, Crenshaw and Elkington, Faldo and Norman, and eventually Tiger twice, including maybe the best regular season duel. They didn't have many. Tiger and Phil in 2005. The place was electric. People knew the holes, particularly the last one. And then the stadium course was constructed, and it became the home of the players in 1982. And Jerry Pate, who was a star and had won a U.S. Open already in 1976, and with the orange golf ball, and doing the swan dive into the lake on 18 with Dean Beeman and Pete Dye. I went there the following year. I had never been more excited as a kid, now immersed in golf, having loved all sports at that age. But when I saw that place, that's right, canary yellow acrylic sweater, matching yellow visor, white leather golf shoes with a kiltie. And by the way, that's the Sunday pin for the players. That was 30 feet left. Made it, really did. And then the next time I played it, I made a 7. But that place was primitive, it was rugged, it was from another world. And when players played it for the first time, they said, this is Star Wars golf. And it's much more refined now, and the aesthetic of it is very, very different. But Florida, as a state, is going through something pretty extraordinary. And look, we're seeing it at a lot of places. For all the golf courses, the desired ones were few and far between. And now there is a boom. There's not only a boom in this country for new development, courses you can play. In the state of Florida alone, Streamsong, and I was living in the state when it was created, and it was coming out of the ground from the blue to the red and then the black, and now David McClay Kidd is getting ready to open his. That is a spectacular destination, and they've got it down like clockwork. And now you got Cabot Citrus Farms, which took over what was Worldwoods, and I went there, and they had the right idea, but it failed eventually, and that's north of Tampa. And Dream Golf, Old Shores, Tom Doak being the first golf course 30 miles north of Panama City. And the private boom that is going on, whether it be South Florida, and look, places like Medalist, which opened in '95, and then it was MacArthur after that. But yeah, places like Sandglass and Kinsale, whether it's on the Atlantic side or on the Gulf side, around the Tampa area, and Apogee, and the ranch that's coming online, and Highgrove. It's insane, really. And now Florida not only has more, they really have more to offer. So this time of the year, we're thinking, especially if you're in the Northeast, you're going, I'm not thinking about golf. I got 36 inches of snow in the front yard. But you will soon enough. Florida makes perfect sense for right now. California is kind of trying to shoehorn its way with weather that's not ideal at the beginning of the year, and that's why it makes sense to look at changes. March in Florida for the PGA Tour, it's right. We take a break. Ron Green Jr. is going to join me when we continue right here in studio from the Global Golf Post. His thoughts on not only this swing, a little look back on the West Coast swing, a thought on Rory as well. And then later on, Andy Johnson, I'll get his thoughts on Florida and golf and the thing that he thinks is most redeemable about the Florida swing. And oh, by the way, I need to know his top 3 golf courses in the state, because that's something they do at Friday Golf. Great to have you with us. It's a Tuesday edition of 5 Clubs here on Golf Channel, and of course simulcast on PGA Tour Radio, Channel 92 on Sirius XM. Ron Green Jr. with me next. Welcome back in a Tuesday edition of 5 Clubs here on Golf Channel and PGA Tour Radio, Channel 92. This segment brought to you by Peter Millar. Yes, that the cable crew neck, it works. You can have it too. All you got to do is go to the website, or like I did, go to their store in Phillips Place here in Charlotte. You don't have to come to Charlotte. They're all over the country to see the spring line. It's about that time of the year. I know you don't believe it in Ridgewood, New Jersey, as you're trying to shovel your way out of it, but it'll be here soon enough. All right, joining me now from the Global Golf Post. When I began my career doing local radio, I read him most days, the Charlotte Observer. Of course, he writes about golf as well as anybody. I know you got a piece that we're going to touch on. Of course, he's Ron Green Jr. Good morning. How you doing?
I'm good. Happy to be here. Happy we don't have 36 inches of snow. Wasn't that long ago?
No, it wasn't. I hadn't shoveled a driveway in a long time. It was arduous.
Yes.
And I don't have the longest driveway either. But we'll get to Florida. But I'm curious, the West Coast they lose the one Hawaii event. And we know what we think is going to happen, whether it's in total, there'll be the same number of events in California, but maybe not in succession. But in terms of what we just saw over the last 2 months, what stands out about the West Coast swing?
Well, I think the tour's in a great place. I mean, I felt like the start has been really good. You got, I think, 4 of the top 6 players in the world rankings won tournaments already this year. You've got a guy like Jacob Bridgman. You've got Chris Goddard. They've become household names now. They are in a different sort of realm, different orbit now. I think, Scottie Scheffler. I mean, now he's given us a little tweak to it.
Yes.
Thursdays are a problem, but I think those 9 rounds after those Thursday rounds, he's 51 under par, I think. So not worried about him at all. Rory doing Rory things. I just think it was a really good start to the season. I think, and I know as we talk about what may be coming down the line for the West Coast, and I understand scarcity and what they want to do, creating more, compacting things, making them bigger. But I have not heard anybody yet say, when you say, well, Hawaii may not be there next year, they may not be starting until February, I've not heard anybody say, well, that's not a good idea. I mean, I understand from the corporate part it might be, but I think fans really like watching Hawaii. They like Pebble Beach, they like Torrey Pines, and I think there's such a cadence to the PGA Tour schedule. Doesn't mean it can't be improved, but I think it will be a jolt if we get to 27, 28, and suddenly it's the third week of January, like, there'll be a void there, and something always fills voids.
What about the notion of, if you're going to give everybody a little appetizer, and maybe whether it's the week between conference championship games in the NFL and the Super Bowl, which I think is a practical thing, and then you come on the back end of the Super Bowl kind of as, whatever that might be. What about if you gave fans in the month of January 1, where you don't have to worry about what was before it or after it, and you still stay out of the way of football and make it midweek on the West Coast, and you get as late as you can. And again, I understand the modesty of an audience on a Wednesday, on a Thursday, on a Friday, but what about that concept of doing that, kind of like the Corn Ferry does early in the year of the Bahamas?
Yeah, I know, talked to some other people back through the years thinking that was a good idea. I mean, you could have done it in Hawaii, you could do it other places, because, I think TGL saw the early week as an opening, and that's sort of what they've tried to take advantage of. I think you could do that. It would be worth the experiment to see, because, we all get sort of consumed by football by that time of year. And, even if you're watching, I know they had good ratings for Phoenix, but you're sort of waiting for it to get over so you can watch the Super Bowl. But I think those kind of innovative thoughts are probably have been kicked around. Whether we'll get that, I don't know. But I would hate to think we have to wait till almost Valentine's Day to really get things going. And suddenly then you start the season, and in 4 weeks they're playing the Players' Championship. Would seem a little sudden.
Yeah.
But we get used to things quickly these days.
Yeah, I do think that whether it's one or both, that Riviera and Pebble are going to see some August dates. I get it. And believe me, the idea, even though you could be dealing with some real heat, it's not Florida heat with humidity, but it can be really warm in LA, but crispy and bouncy Riviera, I'll lean forward for that. Rory has played 2 events, and I understand the golf courses were on the softer side. His iron play has been really good, not only statistically, but in terms of the way that he's visualizing things and shaping shots. Hal Sutton said to me when I did an instructional series with him, you can't turn a weakness into a strength, but you can make it an asset. And I think that his evolution is a reflection of those things. What stands out about him evolving, going to be 37 in May, and still has as much in the tank as guys 12, 15 years younger than him?
Yeah, I do think he has a lot left in the tank. We saw sort of the down after the Augusta thing, because that was just, the enormity of that was just, you didn't really have much alternative. It was going to happen. But I think he's still got that kid part about him. Now he's grown into this great statesman for the game, and he's very thoughtful. He's been involved. He sees the bigger picture for the game while also, dealing with, the direct results of the shots he hits. I think he's still in his prime. It feels like he has an extended prime, and I think he's going to win more major championships. I think he could still be the player of the year, because I think there's a comfort level now that he's taken care of the big thing. But there are more things out there now. He's as magnetic to watch now as he's ever been.
Yeah.
And I think because of what he's accomplished and what he might still accomplish, I think he's, as you know, just great in the interview room. That is just gold for those of us who do what we do.
He has immense value to the tour in countless ways.
And the way he can give you something, maybe from a different perspective or a different angle. I think the best people you tend to interview, they make you think about something you thought you knew a lot about, maybe from a different angle, or give you something you hadn't thought of. And I think Rory's really good at that. I think he's found sort of the balance of where he can be effective with that, but not let it get in the way of his game. And I think his life has changed. All these guys, as they have families and things like that, you go through stages and adjustments, but I think he's in a very good spot.
I do too, and when I say he has immense value to the tour, it doesn't mean complicity to everything that he says. Disagreement is monetized. Just put on any show in the morning where it's, hot take city, and he's not looking to do that. But that's the point, is that his righteousness allows you to create opinion, which fosters response, which drives interest. Jon Rahm drives interest, and yet here he is, and I don't know what his state of mind is, but the DP World Tour, for people not paying close attention, had offered up these resolutions, this kind of let's put this all to bed, with former DP World Tour members who all still have obviously some status to some degree, he being one of them. 8 of them chose to bury the hatchet, whatever that was financially, and then whatever is being required of them in terms of the allotment of tournaments that they need to play above and beyond their live schedule. He said no. What are we missing here?
I wonder what we're missing. I think he's very prideful. I think
yes.
When the other people are willing to finally pay their penalties or just abandon the hope of being in the Ryder Cup, and he doesn't. I wonder, do you think he had an agreement that maybe Liv was going to say, all right, we'll pay yours eventually down the line, and then
and that's what I still believe. And they'll handle that.
And now they haven't done it. He's like, well, wait a minute. I'm going to stand here, and you made a promise to me, and you haven't come through with it. I don't know. I wish it could all just be cleared up. You can't imagine a Ryder Cup these days without Jon Rahm, and I still don't think there's going to be one.
I don't
think
either.
They will find a way, but it's interesting that he has sort of stayed where he is, and everybody else has sort of gravitated. They made these deals, and the PGA Tour made its opportunities, and he has not changed. I don't know. I think all of us have felt like he would do it differently if he could do it over again. But he's, I think, a man of his convictions, and whatever it is, it's keeping him in that spot right now. And maybe he's just waiting for the appeal to finally be thinking he's going to win.
Yeah, I think, look, it's early. It's kind of like labor unions posturing for months and months and months, and all of a sudden you're like, you do realize that spring training is around the corner. Baseball is going to deal with this next year for sure. I think that's a lot of what this is. I also think it's not accidental. His affection for Seve extends beyond the artistry of his golf. I think that Seve, he had his challenges. He butted heads. John ain't afraid. John knows history. I also think it's not so much the money. Don't tell me where I'm going to play. I think that kind of is probably the rub. He also thinks he's got leverage. The idea of him not at Adair Manor, I won't accept that till they announce the opening, match of that Friday morning. Florida. You've done this a long time. Your dad did it a long time. He didn't go to the Players because college basketball is kind of a big deal in this state in the month of March. Did your dad like the Florida swing, and what do you think about the contract and the uniformity they've had since 2007 with where they've gone?
Yeah, he did like it. I think, he didn't do the Players much because Duke State and Carolina took care of his March.
They were playing deep into March.
Hopefully it will be again, but we'll see.
With the color you're wearing.
Yeah, I think the Florida swing is just, grown up with it. It's just,
so did I.
It is just part of what you watch when you watch the PGA Tour. I think, to me, Bay Hill was always this big, huge thing because of Arnold Palmer. It still is. Now, I think we're finally, if we don't get this week, we'll get a tournament at Bay Hill where 22 under par is not going to win unless something really, really weird happens. Because they've just been shooting the grass off places already this year. And I think people are ready to see one of those where it gets really, really hard. But I really like what we have here. I think, it's not for everybody. I know you were talking earlier about golf courses in Florida. The first time I went to PGA National, I about broke out in hives looking at that like, please don't let me ever get here with golf clubs and golf balls because I'd run out of
It's very debilitating.
It is terrifying.
It ushers in steerage like you wouldn't believe. You're trying to guide everything.
Yeah.
And look, PGA National has that. It's interesting you say that about Bay Hill, and it wasn't like Arnold didn't see this. I know he wanted to tighten the screws on this guy, but it's interesting since he passed. If you look at since 2020, the average winning score, 9 under par. That's right in his wheelhouse. That's what he wanted. Tyrrell Hatton wanted it 4 under. all of a sudden, a U.S. Open broke out in the state of Florida, for crying out loud. It's got that, and I think that that's good.
I absolutely do. I remember being there on a couple, feels like Saturdays, where suddenly, I mean, the greens were like this table right here. The
and
ball
legit rough.
Yes, legit rough. You miss the fairway, you're not just grabbing a wedge and hitting it up there the hole. And, you know, the wind's blowing, it gets really hard to find fairways. And, yeah, I don't want a weekly diet of that, but I like it sometimes, and I like it at Bay Hill. I think we've come to expect that, and I think Mr. Palmer enjoys looking down saying, okay, that's a good week for them.
I certainly hope so. Last thing, you've got a piece for Global Golf Post, and we didn't talk, and I said, I'm just curious, because I feel like you probably do, that all roads point to Augusta now. Well, that was the direction you were going. It is not only in terms of kind of where we are in the country now, but also time. Give me three guys that have got you thinking that trend lines will extend, that you're bullish on, a couple maybe that need to shake it off, and two that maybe are inconclusive. Give me some guys that you feel in different areas of the spectrum 6 weeks out.
Well, I mean, I'll take the easy part first.
Yes.
Rory and Scottie.
Okay, that's 2 or 3.
I think quietly, I don't know, Xander Schauffele is starting to look a little bit like him. He's got a great record down there.
Yes.
The one who intrigues me is Patrick Reed. I mean, I don't know if he can extend the Middle East all the way to Augusta, but his record there is really good.
It's the only major where he really has a record.
I think that's something. You know, Colin Morikawa, you look at his record, he's got a bunch of top tens there.
Yep.
For a guy who we think doesn't putt well enough that maybe you win at Augusta, I think we could be proven wrong. Because I've had a sense that he's due to have one of those stretches where he wins twice in 5 weeks or something, and it is in contention. I think he's showing some of that. I
think Morikawa, you know, people have said, well, you know, the putter eventually. Look, if you're somebody who's not the best ball striker, and maybe your putter runs hot and cold, that's a hard equation for me to realize. Adam Scott, when he won in 2013, he had 30 putts in the final round because he hit all the greens.
Yeah.
Virtually, you can ball strike your way and not have to make everything, and that would be, I think, the formula for Colin.
Well, and I think, I don't know if you'd call him a dark horse, but that's where Corey Connors comes to mind.
No, he's a dark horse.
You look at major championships, he puts himself in the conversation a little bit. Now, again, does he putt it well enough? I don't know, but he tends to be there. Then, you know, guys who maybe want to shake it off. A couple years ago, we thought Ludwig Åberg was going to go win everything. I think, you know, any week he could come back and just, you know, put the cape on and be superhero again. That's one I'm interested in. And I've said it for whatever, 8 years. When Jordan Spieth turns down Magnolia Lane, the switch flips, and I just think there's so much magic to what he can do, and that place brings magic out in people. I think I would love to see him be back in it.
It's the place I think he thinks least about golf swing, because he plays by intuition, which I think has always been his greatest strength, because you don't have many level eyes. And I can't do James Earl Jones, but it's like he's been dipped in magic waters. He just does.
Yeah.
He can go there with very little form, and he will, in a mummified state, will figure out a way to finish 12th. I'm with you on that. All right, we got to run to a break. Always great having you in. Look forward to seeing you the next couple weeks in Florida.
Thanks.
Maybe sans the quarter zip.
Hopefully we can get out of those down there.
Yes. All right. Ron Green Jr., Global Golf Post. Read all his stuff. And Jim Nugent and everybody there has built something so worthwhile for people who love to read about the game. When we continue, same thing for Friday Golf. He's on the East Coast. He's a huge Boston Common guy. He is their official mascot. He will dress up as a frog at the next match. He, of course, Andy Johnson. He joins me next. Welcome back in on this Tuesday, 5 Clubs Live on Golf Channel and PGA Tour Radio, Channel 92 on Sirius XM. This segment brought to you by Century Insurance. They do business insurance, and they're invested in golf at every level, From the first tee to the USGA to the PGA Tour, Century Insurance, they are right by you. All right, joining me now, nice to have him on the East Coast. Hard to shake him, although he did come on at like 5 o'clock in the morning toward the end of the year. The founder of Friday Golf. He is looking at properties. Apparently, he may make an offer on Phase 3 at Del Boca Vista. He, of course, is Andy Johnson. Good morning. How you doing? That is Del Boca Vista right there.
I'm not sure where exactly I am. I've been on a 3-week journey here, but it's Gary. It's great to join you at a normal time in the morning, not the usual like 4:30 wake up. So it's wonderful to be here.
You're wearing the Boston Common green. Seriously, you need to dress up as the Frog if they can make a run to the finals. I know you have fun with that. And with that being said, I want to start with Rory because, look, you've dug in on him like a lot of people have, but look, he appreciates what you do, what your team does. You really try to examine this. And I think that all players evolve to varying degrees. I think we're seeing almost maybe his full form. And with that, what do you think him at almost 37 means in terms of how he does it now and how long he can do it?
Yeah, I think we're seeing the full shot making arsenal from Rory. I think if you look back to his 20s, I mean, he was very much a tee it high, let it fly, rip it, and really the first version of this modern golfer that hit it far, figure it out from there. Obviously there's a lot of skill and talent involved in his game, but I think we saw it on the telecast on Saturday when Trevor and Jim had Tiger Woods in the booth, and it was right after Jacob Bridgman hit a 7-wood, just kind of your stock 7-wood, but hit it to 6 inches. I don't want to demean the shot at all. It was an extraordinary shot that he hit. Tiger, I wish I could hit a 7-wood like that. And then Rory hits this, like ripped bullet draw driver, which with a modern driver, which has gotten very hard to turn over right to left.
Yep.
It's it's a shot that you don't see very many people hit, especially with the trajectory hit it at. You heard Tiger almost like giggle in excitement about the shot that he just saw, and you're talking about Tiger being one of the greatest shot makers of all time in golf, and it was a clear moment where the Tiger sitting in the booth knew how the degree of difficulty in the shot that Rory just pulled out of his bag. And I think there are a lot of guys on tour that could conceivably hit that shot. There are very few guys that would even think about trying to hit that shot on Saturday, late Saturday afternoon in contention at a big time golf tournament. And I think that's the thing we've seen with Rory is over the years, him evolve. And he's talked about it a lot with the, kind of when he went through that real major lull where he was out of contention. Examining his game and looking at the holes and the weaknesses. And I think that comes with like the maturation of a human being, right? When you're in your 20s, you're not really thinking about like yourself and how you evolve and get better. And, you reach your 30s, you become a parent. And I think what happens is there's a lot more self-examination and a lot more thoughts about how do I get better? And I think we see it with Rory with the shot making, the understanding golf courses. And I think what's the most amazing thing about Rory is like, you talk about a guy that people used to say was this soft course merchant.
Yep.
In a way, he's completely flipped it to where the harder, the firmer the golf course is, I think the better chance he has now. He understands golf courses, he understands strategy, and he comes in with a really good game plan. And I think that the harder the setup, that's where he's most advantaged now, where early in his career, it was like, if it's soft, that's Rory music.
Yeah, and I think, and this is why I think it will be additive to the body of work. to the point you just made, and obviously having won the Players twice, that would naturally make him a favorite. But I think that the tactical nature as well of his evolution, the flighting of shots, the firmness, the fastness, which again, it's all predicated on certain things at the Stadium course, but also the U.S. Open, which he's won, but did it on a pincushion, and then post 18 has this exemplary record at the U.S. Open. I think between now and wherever the tank is empty, he could have more players than anybody. Now, Scottie's a challenge for him, and then add at least one more U.S. Open, which is not something we thought were going to be, kind of his bailiwick or his wheelhouse. So let me ask you this, because I mentioned Scheffler, and Rory is the number 2 player in the world. Who will be the best player beyond Scottie? Because I don't think production can be touched, but majors is like this accelerator. Who will be the second best player in the world at the end of the year? Or are you suggesting that Scottie will be encroached upon?
I think you have to look at Scottie. I do think the first round thing is an interesting storyline to watch over the next couple weeks, because I think in golf we get wrapped up in the moment and you think everything's going to last forever, and it might with Scottie. He might just be this great player forever, but we just see they're just little, there aren't these huge events that derail people. In golf, like these little speed bumps are what the difference between winning and finishing 5th. And I think the margins are so narrow. And for Scottie, this first round thing, I'd put my worry meter about a 2 out of 10 right now. But if we see it continue the next couple events before the Masters, you probably that's going to raise up and it's going to be a thing. And the more noise it becomes, the more frustrating it can get. With regards to number 2, I just don't see a world where it's not Rory McIlroy at the end of the year. I think those 2 players. I think Scottie has separated himself as the best player in the world, and it's the level of tee to green consistency that he brings week in, week out, on top of the short game genius. That is just such a good combination. It just gives him such a high floor. I can't see anyone unseating him at the top of the game anytime soon. And then I think Rory is just a distant second, like a clear, in a way, distant second from third place, like similar to the way Scottie separated himself. I think what's fascinating is I think we're seeing a little bit of a new guard, obviously, with the Chris Gotterups of the world. Jacob Bridgman's been super impressive. I think Jake Knapp has been,
unbelievable.
I didn't really see this coming. He's been phenomenal the last kind of 6 months. And I'm excited to see where that goes. But it is an exciting time in golf because you've got the likes, and I was talking about this on a podcast that's coming out this week, but you think about the Masters storylines coming into the Masters, and somehow Justin Rose at 45, winning, dusting a field, going into the Masters where he's had so many close calls. That's like storyline 8 for this Masters. It has been a sensational start to the year.
It has. You read about Jake Knapp, and you add the personal tragedy that he dealt with. And for him to have 5 starts, his worst result is a tie for 8th, is really something else. Florida, you're there now. You live in Northern California. You're from the Midwest. What do you think is the most redeemable aspect or aspects of the Florida swing?
I think, we on the West Coast, you see guys play in a couple domes. You never know what the weather is going to be at Pebble or Riv. If it's nice out, it is relatively calm that time of year. You have Scottsdale and Palm Desert, which are effectively domes for the most part. When you come to Florida, you see these guys play in conditions. The golf courses are challenging because there are a lot of hazards. A friend of mine, Zach Blair, and I often talk about golf courses design and the idea of how you challenge pros. And what Zach always says is the only way to scare us is water. It's the only way. There's a ton of water on these golf courses, and then you get the wind whipping at 20, 30 miles an hour. I was talking to a friend of mine on the phone the other day. who's a really good player, not an amateur player. And we were just talking about Florida golf, and I'm like, I said something along the lines of, Florida golf just kills me. It just annihilates me every time I come down here. I feel like I never lose golf balls, and then I come down here and I just am always buying golf balls in pro shops. And he was like, I know, it's like the wind here is magnified. A 10 mile an hour wind down here feels like a 20 mile an hour wind somewhere else. And it is a really challenging place to play golf.
The first time I played Old Marsh which was 30 years ago. I'm like, what is this? This is like, it was so debilitating. Every swing I could lose a golf ball. Every swing, full swing, I'm like, from 80 yards, I could dump this in the water because I've already lost 6 balls. I only have 9 in my bag. By the way, what is your top 3 in Florida? Because look, Florida's going through this boom. There's a lot of new, high-end private, not to mention what Dream Golf is doing. The Cabot property, Stream Song is what it is. What's your top 3?
Top 3. I'll go with Seminole. I just actually played this week a new course in central part of Florida called High Grove, which was phenomenal. I haven't seen all the new stuff. That's a remarkable golf course. It's a Gil Hanse design, incredible piece of land. That middle part of Florida has amazing sand and rolling topography. And then I'll go for number 3 or whatever. You can put this in any order. I love the Park.
Yes.
I love the Park. I think it's one of the great places in golf.
Agreed.
Just because of the atmosphere they've created. It's an awesome golf course, an incredible golf course. It is, you're getting a private experience. I know people will say, oh, it's expensive. Like, yeah, it's expensive, but you get something that's worth the price. It's not expensive to be expensive. You go there, the golf course is in great shape. It's an incredible design. But I think the thing that I love the most, anybody that's going to the West Palm Beach area, whether you're at a club or whether you're at, wherever you are, one of the greatest things you can do if you're in that area, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, Jupiter, Stewart, go to the Park,
yes,
have dinner there, and just sit and enjoy the scene of families and kids and just young people playing golf and being out at night because they have great lighted putting green, great lighted short course. It is just an amazing, amazing scene. And I think the world of that project and the things that the guys that kind of spearheaded that and their vision for it, I think it is just a phenomenal place to play golf. It's something that I wish, as a kid that grew up at a local muni, like I couldn't imagine being a West Palm Beach kid and having that as my local golf course growing up. It is
very well said. Very well said.
It's awesome.
It's a gift. It's a gift. And by the way, the food is great, and you're right. It is the cross-section of golf in America is on display at the Park. By the way, one thing about High Grove that I love in particular, because the founder's a Philly guy, the homage to the Trading Places movie that will come to life over time with the Duke brothers, not to mention Beeks, and you're too young to probably, if you haven't seen that movie, Andy, it's
I've seen it.
Okay,
I love that
I knew you
movie.
were cultured. By the way, I'm proud of you.
That and Coming to America are like 2 of my favorite movies of that era.
Okay, we never have enough time. I'm proud of you. You put your recycling out. I see your bins there at the end of the driveway.
I feel bad about the background here. I didn't have a better option.
It's Florida. You nailed it. I'll see you in a couple weeks. Andy Johnson, founder of Friday Golf. And those were winning words presented by Century Insurance. We're back right after this. Back in on 5 Clubs, this segment brought to you by Peter Millar, I did go to the store yesterday, and I'm looking at all the spring line, and I'm going, I'll have 3 of everything. Because anything you need in terms of whatever your lifestyle is, whatever your job is, the things that you're interested in, they will equip you because they are the premier lifestyle brand. It is Peter Millar and petermillar.com. Looking back on the West Coast swing, a couple things, and I agree with Andy about the Scheffler thing. It's a little rash, and you don't want a little rash to become a bigger rash. And these first rounds are an interesting little thing that he's got right now. But here's the other thing. The balance of these events have produced incredible golf. He is first in scoring average on the PGA Tour, despite what he's done in these 3 consecutive events on the PGA Tour. Now, his iron play has been indifferent to below average for him. He's 55th in strokes gained approach. One other guy, and by the way, Scottie is also first in strokes gained total, which is where he's lived. So despite all this, in total, his performances are better than other people and anybody else. I'm going to say this about Rory again. If he continues to not only be as efficient with his irons in terms of being number 1 in strokes gained approach, but also what he's visualizing, how he's seeing shots and doing it. And the other thing is, and this is part of his evolution, I think it's been underrated how he has become so proficient and good the closer he gets to the hole. Whereas, yes, his driver is still his greatest weapon, but I consider him to be very, very good, and it's being reflected in the stats. And I get it, it's a small window, but he actually won at PGA National when he ascended to world number 1 in 2012. Tiger had shot 62 in front of him, and he won it coming down the stretch, not by hitting majestic tee shots, getting up and down, small ball. That's part of why he's better now than he was 5, 6, 10 years ago. Have a great Tuesday. Looking forward to tomorrow. Smiley Kaufman and Matt Every. We'll see you then, folks. Have a great day.